So let's answer the question today. Can you put a full-size Clippard nitrous 4-way valve on your Spirit Halloween Ghostbusters Proton Pack? Stay tuned. So if you're like me, you've been searching all over the internet for a YouTube video or a chat room or something that will give you the burning answer. Can you put a full-size Clippard valve on your Proton Pack if you have a Spirit Halloween, you know, the 75% version? Well, I'm going to try to answer that today and put one on because, to be quite frank, there's multiple sizes of these, and if you go on, you know, I'm going to be honest. I mean, first I went on Etsy and I looked around, and there were some people that had these valves that, you know, were done with the 3D printing, and they had the spray paint and the aging, and they looked really, really nice. But they were also in Europe. They were only $30, but I mean, it was going to be like a month to get it. I couldn't find any American vendors that had pretty much a ready-to-install valve. Now, if you know some of them, make sure that you put something down in the comments there, because I personally couldn't find one that was in the States, was not going to take a month to get it, and it didn't come in parts or pieces to where you were just getting another one of these. I mean, why would I want to replace that if I wasn't going to get one that looked better than the one that I've got, which means it needs to have something better, right? I mean, it seems like that as long as this pack's been out versus the Hasbro, you know, you really would think that some folks had put a little bit more effort into putting things out for it. There are a handful of vendors out there, don't get me wrong, but, you know, guys like me that want to do some customization, and obviously people like you, we like to see a little bit more stuff come out. But, you know, industry, who's getting these, who's modifying, I'll grant it, if you're getting these for your kid, you're not going to spend an extra $300 and modify it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to obviously look at this a little bit more closely, and then look at this right here. Now, before I go much further, for those of you that are new to our channel, hi, I'm RB with RB's Toy Box, and this is a channel that showcases a lot of stuff that I have here in my toy box, which is multiple rooms in my house. Once the kids moved out, I moved my collectibles out, and I've got Star Trek, I've got Star Wars, I have a whole bunch of movie memorabilia. I have vintage toys surrounding me in multiple areas of my house, including lots of stuff with Playmobil, handful of Legos, and like I said, a lot of movie-related stuff. Do a lot of adventure type stuff where we go up to Neutral Zone Studios and some other day trips where we go around Kennedy Space Center, stuff like that. So make sure that you like and subscribe that channel. Show some other people what we're doing here with RB's Toy Box. And hopefully, if you've got a suggestion of a video that you'd like to see, maybe you've looked around some of the videos, seen some of the stuff that I have, and you'd like to have a review video on it, or you want me to maybe consider a build project or something, let me know, because I mean, I want to get more into these builds. I've done a ton of builds like this, just not necessarily on this. If you watch some of the videos of my wheelchair, you would know. I have something we like to call Power Wheels, and it is my souped up wheelchair. I am mobility challenged. I can walk a little bit around the house here, but if I go outside for, you know, a little bit, I can't walk to the end of the street without help. So if we go out to, you know, big places like a theme park, or going to be going out into the store or something, I've got to use a walker or a wheelchair. So that's a little bit about me. But that's why I have that cool wheelchair that I built for myself, because we were going to Disney and SeaWorld and stuff like that and spending all day there. And I can't ride any rides, but I can certainly have some fun with a cool wheelchair. All right, let's get back to this right here. This is a Clippard. This is not the Clippard. This is a Clippard valve. And I chose this one, even though the 330s are a little bit smaller and they have like a little light looking thing here at the top. I chose this one because it did have this little bit of a nod up here at the top. It didn't have the knob look like you would have on the Clippard 701 series, but it at least had that look, and it was a third of the price. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I wasn't crazy about going out there and spending $60, $70, $80, $100 for a genuine Clippard nitrous valve, especially when you could get, like I said, some of the resin ones for 30 bucks, and then you have to kind of put it together yourself. But, you know, when I went on eBay and I started looking around, this one was in the $30 range, and there's some others in there that were 20 that weren't exactly like this. They were flat on the top with a little, looks like a light bulb. And those were going in the $28 to $30 range, and the 701s were in the $70 to $80 to $100 range. This one was in like the $35 range, so you know it made sense to get that, being it did at least have the look to it. Now, from a comparison standpoint, I tilt this up right here. I'm going to turn an extra light on here, so it's going to get a little bit brighter. If that's, I hope that's not too washed out, but I want you to be able to see from the top view, it is definitely a little bit bigger, but not massive. If you look at the base, and I'm going to do a zoom in here on the base, but if you look at the base, it's honestly not much bigger. Matter of fact, it's just a few millimeters wider than the base that's on there, at least this way. And the other way, it's, you know, it's a little bit fatter, but not the base itself where it wouldn't, you know, quote unquote screw in. It's not overly sized. So it's, I don't think, if you didn't know and you looked at this when I get done, you're not going to be able to say, oh, that's not supposed to be there, or that's misproportioned. I think with everything else that I'm doing with this, it's going to fit in perfectly fine, especially with the Spengler one being attached to this, and we're going to talk a little bit about that towards the end of this video. So let me reposition the camera a little bit. I'm going to show you a couple of things. You're going to literally do this with me, so feel free to fast forward the video through the different parts that you like, but I am going to put this on here. I have never done this before. If I mess this up, we're going to be messing it up together, so make sure you watch the video all the way through to see what I did right and wrong before you go ahead and do it. And if you don't, make sure you make a video of it so I can watch it. I'm just saying. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and break out my Dremel. Reposition the camera. I want to show you this Dremel that I picked up. It's actually kind of cool. It uses this, which obviously you can get this cable no problem for your Dremel or your rotary tool, but this one came like you know, with this box with a little hook over here on the side, and it's just like a Dremel unit like this instead. So you can almost use this like as a desktop unit like that and have a lot more control with it, I thought. So I kind of like it. It also has a storage compartment down below, and it also has a place for slots up here for your most commonly used bits. This is POPULO. I found them on Amazon. They're on sale right now. I picked one up. It was $56, and you know that's pretty much comparable to the other ones you get. Plus, it's the interchangeable rotary, not rotary, but big battery packs here. This is almost, I haven't tried it yet, but it's like the same battery that's on my Rigid, so that's kind of cool too. So anyway, side note there in case you're looking for tools to go along with this project. But let's get started. Let me reposition this and we will get going. All right, so the first thing I want to do is down underneath here is a screw. The rest of this is part of the molded plastic. So I'm just going to unscrew that and pull this top part of the plastic valve out. Move this around a little bit and get over to a screwdriver. There we go. Put the screw over in the metallic tray. And let's look at this valve here for a second. So just a hollow plastic with a little notch in it over here so it would line up correctly. That's all there is to it. So you could, if you wanted to, you could actually take this off, spray paint it, you know, age it, put new stickers on it. I do have plans on getting some of the aged sticker sets that they sell on Etsy, just haven't gotten to that point yet. Now if we look down inside here very carefully, we'll notice the ridge. And you might choose to cut here from the bottom, but I'm going to choose to cut from the top. And the reason for that is, again, when you compare the base of this, it's not much bigger than the base that's in here. As a result, if you look at that very closely, if you cut it from the inside and take that ridge lip with it, you're not going to have enough meat to bite into with these screws. And even when I get done, I still may not, and I might have to use like a little extra piece of plastic down below. I hope not, but maybe. Now make sure you stay tuned towards the end. I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done so far and what I still have planned, such as my regulator here and my extra switches and my little 25 cent to play valve or thing here. All right, so let's get over to my Dremel. And I will probably do the little fast forwarding thing on the video, so in the meantime.
Okay, sir, if you and your staff could please wait out here, we'll take care of everything.
Now my initial cuts, I went in at a little slight angle, and the reason for that is obviously if you're using a cutting bit on a Dremel, it's got a screw here, and if you go try to do flat in, you're going to end up damaging the visible part of the outer ring right here. So that's why I went in at an angle, and I started going around the edges at kind of like marking it a little bit, giving myself a little bit of feel around the edges of it, and then we'll go back around it and plunge in a little bit further, plunge in a little bit further. Because when you get over here to the side, right next to this piece here, you want to make sure that you're going all the way in and then coming back around and going all the way back in. Otherwise, when you try to go around the edge right here, your blade will touch this piece here and mar it up. Now if you're going to go through and paint the whole thing, then it don't matter, but I don't plan on doing that like right away. If I ever replace this front piece here with some parts that I just saw on Etsy yesterday, which looks pretty cool, then I'll do that. Next thing I'm going to do is just kind of go around here a little bit, and I'm going to clean it up. But before I do that, I want to grab my new valve here, and I want to see just how much room I've got for the screws and kind of what it's going to look like just sitting on there. Haven't screwed anything down or anything. This is just kind of what it looks like, just like that. Like I said, it doesn't look terribly out of place or out of proportion, and if you didn't know any better, you probably would say, hey, it's supposed to be that way. I'll probably put some other, metal accents around it, just so that it also looks more like it's supposed to be here, especially with this piece here. If this piece and this piece are kind of made out of the same kind of metal, and then maybe these discs on the end and this piece here, it kind of look like it's supposed to be that way. Now let's look on the bottom here. All right, I am looking, and the screws where I am, my gasket fits right around that. Matter of fact, that might be a good way for us to look and see how much room we actually have. We'll pull this gasket out of here, which honestly you don't really need, and lay the gasket down on there. I'm going to try to get you a little closer here. Let me get the camera angle guy going. Where is it? Move this around. Okay, so if you can see the gasket where that is, there's just, I mean, a smidge of material left, but there should be enough to give me a bite where the screws go and make it to where it should hold perfectly fine, especially with the right, you know, nuts down below, maybe even with a washer, and it won't move, it won't shift, and it should look perfectly fine. So let's go in and we're gonna clean this up a little bit, and then we will then kind of drill our holes and put it in here. Alright, so basically what I did is I came back through here with these diamond pit tipped blades that I use instead of like the grinding ones that break so easy. These have a surface on here that allows me to do flat or cutting or anything, and working with plastic, these things are absolutely fabulous. Amazon, you can get these. They're just diamond plate metal grinding bits for your Dremel. They come with a rod and like 10 or 12 of these. They're great for this type of work. And they're also not as breakable as some of the black ones. So I've got this ground down on the edge right here, and I think now we're ready to kind of line up the valve and do some drilling. Okay, so I couldn't find a nut for that particular screw, so I'm going to use a different screw. Just screw a nut from my set here. Should work perfectly fine. I've got the bit that works good for this size. Now it's just a matter of lining it up and screwing it in. So I'm gonna kind of look at it really closely before I do. Also, when you're putting this together, the shaft on your drill bit, make sure that you pull that out to, not like all the way to the edge, but where you've got just enough bite on there. Because what you don't want is this hitting the sides of anything as you're going down in here. If you put that super short and you go down, you might actually hit something. So you don't want that. So I'm just kind of pulling this off to the side, kind of get that lined up, and then just kind of make sure it's centered and that we're in good shape. You know, the old adage that Dad used to have, you know, is measure twice, cut once, applies, especially when you don't have enough meat on here to redo it. Alright, so I think I'm good there. I'm going to go ahead and drill my first pilot hole. By the way, I'm not using the smaller bit for a pilot hole. I'm using the actual size, and the reason for that is because if you don't get it just right with this little bit of bite, you're gonna end up being offset. Yep. So there was a little bit of bite, but not very much. As soon as it broke through, it caught and then ripped the edge. I think we'll still be okay with a washer on there. So what I'm going to do is put the screw in to kind of hold my place on the one side, and then make it easier for the other side. Let's go back in here and line it back up. And then put her in. All right. So you'll be able to see there. We pull in real close and look down. Just how close it is to the edges. I probably could have moved it over just a little bit, but if that didn't bite when it caught a hold of the plastic, then that probably would have been spaced just right, maybe just a millimeter off. When you're dealing with plastic like this, it sometimes will catch. Plexiglass is obviously really bad for that. So, all right, next thing for us to do is just to screw it in. So I'm gonna put some washers on it, and you'll see that as it's going. Mm-hmm. Okay, so finger tight. I'll go in there and tighten it up with a wrench. But this is what we are looking at here. Mm-hmm. So if you look at it like this, so don't think it looks too big. You know, definitely not the 701 or anything, but that is, you know, short of, you know, the little catch on the side, which obviously was taken care of with just a washer on the bottom. That's installing a Clippard valve on your Spirit Proton Pack. Now, I'm going to take just a minute to kind of show you where I am and what my plans are. I have a couple of things that I'm working on. I'm going to, of course, be making videos on. One of those is this little guy right here that when I get around to that video, I'll put a link in there. But this is a 200-watt amplifier that I'm going to be using with the wire for the speaker on the Proton Pack, on the, the Spangler wand. I ran a wire from the speaker all the way back. It's going to go through a high-low converter into the RC jack, and then from the RC jack to here. I'm doing that because the amplification coming out of the wand is pretty high already. If you run it directly into an amp, you can run it. You just have to turn it way down. But that's not what I got this particular amp for. I got this particular amp because it's also Bluetooth. So I can run both the Spangler wand and then a Bluetooth and swap back and forth so that I can play music through my unit. Now, I have also, when I get to that point, I'm putting a new back on it, and I've got these 3-inch speakers that I've got fairly inexpensively. I'll obviously include links for that. And then I've got the different boards that I'm using to wire all those in. In addition to that, I'm also taking the opportunity to pull out the old wiring and put in the upgraded light kit for it. So those should be here in a handful of days, and then of course I'll make a video on that as well. I have a couple of other things that I have already done. One of those is to get these kind of battery packs online. They have two different types for, I went ahead and got the bigger of the battery packs, and then I'm going to put a little Velcro strip on the bottom, and I cut out this slot here at the top for the battery. I know it's kind of awkward in this little screen, but so that the battery pack just slides right there, just like that. Not that it's perfectly made for it, but I did have to trim out the old battery piece right here using my Dremel, and then of course Dremel this out very carefully so it didn't scratch or anything, and then slide that in. Then the main wire for the power unit here goes out through where that large hose is on the front, and then just comes out and in through the top, which also looks industrial for the fit of this particular unit. And I might even take take the red and blue and wrap it in one of these, you know, hose type looking pieces on the bottom, so that looks like it kind of fits too, you know. So still got to get my Velcro and put that on there. And then for the same thing with the unit for the Spangler wand, it's going to come off on this side with the knob for the volume and amplifier, and then the headphones jack will plug in there as well. The headphones, of course, is the input, not the output. The other thing is I went ahead and added a reducer right here. This is a digital, some people call it a potentiometer, a reducer, whatever you want to call it. This is a digital one that allows you to put 12 volt in and then dial it for your output. I'm going to obviously dial it for 4.5 volts. The reason for that, I have not seen anybody do this yet, but I'm going to be making a video probably in the next few days for doing that. I got from Amazon dummy batteries that runs off a wire, and then you take this and you put it with the other two triple or double A batteries, and then you're going to run this from the Spangler wand down the hose and into a switch connected to the digital potentiometer. So that will allow me to be able to not run batteries in the Spangler wand and have everything powered from this unit running off of the same battery. And I could even do a separate battery pack if I needed to and just plug it in separately. So that is a really cool thing that I'm going to be doing, and I'm also going to be changing the configuration of how the wires go into the back of the Spangler wand, so that I'll have basically a 4-wire lead coming out that will run 2 of them for the speaker, 2 of them for the power supply, and that will all come back into here. I will probably run a third set of 2 wires up and eventually hook the main power switch of the Spangler wand to this unit as well, so that the lights and everything will activate with the Spangler wand. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I want to get the light switch in here first, or the new lighting system in here first, to kind of see if that's what I want to do. I think I showed you on the last video, I'd also put on here my little goo holders. You know, I want to be able to put like a pink slime and a green slime in there. And I also have my funny little thing I like to put in here that nobody expects, but my 25-cent to play button. So I think that's all at this particular moment that is here. I've got parts on the way to kind of get this to a point where I feel like it's finished, and then start putting it. I also have an Alice frame coming as well for the backpack. I wanted to do that because of the speakers, to give it a little bit of distance, being the speakers are technically firing into my back, to make them more audible. Then that'll work out well, and then it'll work even better when I put it. I have a mall chair, a little small wheelchair, that I want to be able to just hang this right on the back like I normally do with a backpack, and you know, be able to take it to wherever, a little convention or something, and not necessarily break out the big chair, but have this unit on the back ready to go with the speakers playing with the Bluetooth, and have some fun with that. So I think that's about it for this video. Make sure that you like and subscribe, please, 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 and then you know, look us up, you know, look me up and look at some of the other videos of stuff that I've done. You might find something that you like. I also have bedtime stories that I read for my granddaughter, and you might like those as well. You never know. So I hope that you appreciate, or at least enjoyed, what we're doing here on RB's Toy Box, and I'll see you next time.